Hi, I'm Diana Ideus, and I want to introduce you to the Onboarding Action Plan. So, Onboarding Action Plan is on our resource page. You can either it's one of the most recent resources, so it's right here at the top, but normally it will be under 4 leaders. So much of an employee's experience has to do with their first 90 days and their relationship with their direct manager. So we have the instructions for you as a leader. First and foremost, these can be downloaded and are for your convenience. The onboarding action plan is written as if it's to the employee. So this is just the downloadable, printable instructions, if that's helpful. Essentially, you're making a map for them and defining success. New employees really want to make sure they're meeting and exceeding your expectations and want to make sure that they're doing well. And you may also have something where the employee is not necessarily going to make it past their 90 days if they don't perform. So setting clear expectations. Without clear expectations, it's difficult for people to exceed or even be successful. So we recommend you taking time to reflect, potentially with your team, and think about this is a pre-planning step that goes in before your employee starts so that you can actually talk them through this plan in day one. So first and foremost, we have bottom line objectives. This is your elevator pitch. What does this employee ultimately need to do, especially in their first 3 months? You want to make this as simple as possible. The longer it takes for you to explain this, the more complex it is, the more likely it is to be lost in translation or be confusing to the employee. So samples for goals is potentially they're hired for a specific project, or maybe you want them to build relationships with a certain client or stakeholder group. So you want to make these concise and clear. There's a reason that on the PDF, there isn't a space for you to put paragraphs. If your employee doesn't know their kind of bottom line goals, it's a lot more difficult for them to be successful. So take time to think about this because you are going to want to define success measures before your employee arrives because they're going to have questions. Then your most used systems and programs. So what paperwork do they need to fill out? Is there HR login? Are there certain client systems? Are there certain internal systems and processes? And so having these all in one place is very helpful for a new employee as you welcome them to the company. The reason that there's a contact support is because you also want to be delegating. You don't want to be the only one training your new employee. Well, of course, it's important that your new employee or newly promoted employee, I should say, builds a relationship with you as their hiring manager. Who on the team can they meet? Are there certain clients that they need to be introduced to? Are there certain people in other departments? So think about this comprehensively. One of the things you can consider is whether your employee is an introvert or an extrovert. So we actually have under our assessments page on Hawthorne Union, which I'll show you in a minute, they can take a free assessment. So that can also help you customize based on your employee. But the nice thing about this as well, if this is a role that you have over time or you're hiring multiple people on your team, you'll be able to save this as a template, make some changes, fill it out. But think about diversity of perspective and style and whether someone's new to their role or new to the company, how important relationships are. So think about that as you're thinking about contact and support. Then you want their initial development. So this is specifically for their first week and into their first month. You're not necessarily going to have all this filled out on their first day. What we did put in here though is that you're going to actually review this plan. That helps your employee feel safe. It helps them know how to define success. It gives them a bit of a roadmap. Depending on whether they like things really structured or like things really loose, you're at least kind of defining the parameters for them. So, think about if there's certain training that they'll be in, potentially if they have onboarding or employee paperwork, or if there's some on the job or even off the job training, try to map as much as possible of the first 30 days. If you don't, it doesn't have to be day one, day two, day three. It can also be month one, week two. But, also still have that contact and support. If you find that you're the contact and support for everything, I'm going to challenge you to branch out beyond that, right? That's not necessarily sustainable. Who can you delegate to? Who else does this person need to meet in their first month? So you may actually determine, okay, I want them to meet these 5 people or these 10 people before you even know what their development is. So be mindful of that because we're looking not only at tasks, we're also looking at essential relationships to help people develop success. And one of the main metrics, in addition to, my relationship with my direct manager, people leave bosses all the time, is that, someone at work cares about me. So often as employers, we're focused on how much is someone making, what are their benefits? And while benefits and money are definitely important, usually the surveys are yielding results about someone at work cares about me, right? So this doesn't necessarily have to be just you. It takes a village. So think about who that village is. And also, while you're filling out this plan, this is a great thing that you can delegate as well. Are you the best person to create a draft of this? Should someone else on your team do this? Do you have a new employee who wants to fill out what would have been helpful for them? And then you as a team can review it. So be thinking about that. Be thinking about delegating and structuring as you're going through this document. Then we have ongoing development. So this is after 30 days. As much as possible, you want to draft out, okay, in the employee's first 90 days, what do they really need to be successful? Are there certain things I'm expecting them to deliver? Are there certain objectives that they have to hit? Are there certain trainings that they need to take? This is an editable PDF. So while we do recommend that you actually print it out if you're meeting face to face with someone, have the version of this that the employee has for day one. But in your one-on-ones, as you go through with them, whether that's weekly or bi-weekly, or if they're meeting with other people, this is always something that can evolve. You can fill this in as you go. But I do think it's good to kind of give a sketch, even if you change it, because then you're also saying, hey, I planned for you, right? This wasn't a surprise. We're happy you're here. We want you to be successful. So much money is spent on training and onboarding, and then as employee leaves, that money is lost, right? You're losing potentially their salary plus everyone's time. So taking, even if it's just a half an hour to spend some time to be intentional about welcoming your employee is really important. And then at the 90 days, we recommend that they have an employee review. So whether this is something that's already set up in your HR or your system, or whether this is something where you just sit down with this onboarding action plan and walk them through, hey, this is what we said at day one. This is how you were progressing at day 30, day 60. Okay, now that we're at day 90, here's where you're meeting, not meeting, or exceeding my expectations. It's very common for employees in their first 90 days to not be meeting expectations because they're learning. If you tell them that in advance, that helps them prepare, right? Of course, they want to meet your expectations. Of course, they want to exceed your expectations. But if you're setting clear expectations, I used to tell my direct reports, look, it's going to take 3 months before you really have your bearings. And they didn't believe me. They wanted to be faster, but it did take them 3 months. But to be able to outline these specifics was helpful. And then there's also a section for notes. So this is the instructions page. It's written specifically for you as the manager or whoever on your team you want to fill this out. So this is downloadable and printable. And then also we have the actual PDF. So, go ahead and download this. It has, you can type in whatever, keep these simple. You can go ahead and fill it out as we go. And then there's a slight rephrase because it's based on employee facing, really focusing on welcome them, bottom line objectives, systems and programs, and the development for the first 90 days. If you're interested in customizing this more, we do recommend under assessments, we have a variety of assessments and then can absolutely work with you at Hawthorne Union to customize the predictive index. If you click on this and scroll down to the bottom, that assessment is at no cost. So know that at Hawthorne Union, we're here to support you and want you to be successful. So if you would like a consultation to talk through your onboarding action plan, or if you want to either purchase or have your employee take a free assessment and then have us help you through that, we want to make sure that we're supporting you to be successful. So thank you for your time, and we hope to hear from you.